This is your Daily Detroit for Friday, June 5th, 2020. I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Sven Gustafson. Let's just get started and do it to it, shall we?
So I shook one of those magic 8 balls with sayings in them just now, and lo and behold, it said there is a haircut in your future. Maybe that's because Governor Gretchen Whitmer is reopening barbers, salons, nail and massage businesses in 10 days, June 15th, right here in Metro Detroit. Additionally, 2 regions of the state in northern Michigan have moved to phase 5 of the state's 6-phase plan around the coronavirus. The 5th phase is called containing, so movie theaters and gyms will be able to reopen with social distancing precautions in place on June 10th. Up north, indoor gatherings up to 50 people will be allowed. Outdoor gatherings of up to 250, plus outdoor sports and entertainment venues that can hold up to 500 people can reopen. The state of Michigan reported a little over 200 coronavirus cases Thursday, bringing the total to just over 58,200. There were 13 fatalities due to COVID-19 in that 24-hour period, along with 12 that were updated by a review of records, bringing the total number of deaths in Michigan due to COVID-19 to nearly 5,600. In fact, according to coronavirus tracking site RT.live, we are one of the top 10 states in the nation to bring the viral spread of coronavirus under control. Officials in the city of Detroit, where the worst outbreak occurred, say things are trending in the right direction, but advise caution. Denise Fair, the chief public health officer for the city, says that they are not in a rush to reopen because if you do it too quickly, a spike will come as it has in other states. She shared her concerns that protests could increase the spread and to use caution, social distancing, and wear masks as these continue on. As a little hint, masks are going to be a recurring theme of today's show. Shelby Township's chief of police was put on paid administrative leave Thursday after a series of incendiary and racist tweets was discovered to be linked to him. The tweets by Chief Robert Shelby, done through a pseudonym, glorify police brutality in the wake of the George Floyd incident that has rocked the nation. The story was first reported by the Metro Times, and well, everybody else piled in. Screenshots that are circulating on social media include one that says, quote, "Trump threatening to deploy the military. I have a better idea. Unleash the real cops and let them take care of these barbarians. I promise it will be over in 24 hours. Cops are crippled by politicians and the media," unquote. Another tweet referred to people in a photo as, quote, "wild savages," unquote, and suggested, quote, "body bags for these vicious subhumans," unquote. Since the reporting, Chief Shelby has admitted the tweets were his and issued an apology. Before working for the Macomb County suburb, he worked in Detroit and Southfield, both majority African-American communities. In Southfield, he was a deputy police chief when he retired from that position in 2015. He was then almost immediately hired as chief by Shelby Township. According to the Detroit Free Press, Shelby Township trustee John Vermeulen said when asked about the situation, quote, "Would hate to think we are putting him on paid administrative leave only to find out he was exercising his First Amendment rights. I just hope that we do not in any way infringe upon the chief's First Amendment rights," unquote. Shelby Township is one of the fastest growing suburbs in the area as white flight continues, this time not from the city of Detroit as in the past, but from inner ring suburbs. It has more than 80,000 people and is one of the few cities in Metro Detroit that's growing. Shelby Township is nearly 90% white as of the last census.
In non-COVID related news, former United Auto Workers president Gary Jones has pleaded guilty to embezzling, racketeering, and tax evasion charges in a federal investigation into widespread corruption at the union. Federal prosecutors have recommended a sentence of up to 57 months in prison after Jones agreed to start cooperating in the ongoing investigation. He faces up to 10 years behind bars under sentencing guidelines. Jones served as UAW president from June 2018 to November 2019, when he resigned following federal raids of his home and former office. He admitted to conspiring with at least 6 other high-level UAW representatives over several years to embezzle union membership dues, which they spent on lavish entertainment, dinners, greens fee at golf courses, cigars, and other perks. The Detroit News reports that Jones attended his sentencing hearing via Zoom since federal courts remain closed due to the coronavirus pandemic. He also apologized to what he called my UAW family for betraying their trust, and he asked for forgiveness. He's the 14th defendant to be convicted in the ongoing investigation.
This has been an ongoing mess with the UAW, Sven.
Indeed, and it sounds like more shoes will probably, in all likelihood, drop. Federal prosecutors have threatened the United Auto Workers with federal takeover, essentially, if more people don't start talking.
The economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic has taken a bite out of one of Detroit's beloved brands, Sanders. They say 4 of 6 company stores will not reopen. Those in Grosse Pointe, Livonia, Novi, and St. Clair Shores are not coming back. Clinton Township and downtown Rochester will reopen Tuesday. The move impacts 35 employees, less than half of which are full-time. Sanders says they're working to place as many as they can at other stores. 2 licensed stores, one on Mackinac Island and the other in Wyandotte, are unaffected. This is part of a larger trend where it's expected that physical stores are going to be less of a thing going forward, not just because of the virus itself, but the rise of online shopping. Experts tend to agree that years of shifting has occurred in just a few months. The stores that remain will be focused on experiences instead. We talked about this concept a bit on a previous podcast with retail expert Conrad Kickert, where a physical location is going to be more about being a brand ambassador than moving product in the new economy. Sanders is now owned, in case you didn't know, by the same holding company as Cars Nuts, KNPC Holdings out of Madison Heights. They bought Sanders in 2018. MoGo on Thursday officially launched its expanded bike-sharing service in Northwest Detroit and 5 adjacent suburbs. There's also a new pricing system to go along with it. Starting Thursday, the $8 daily pass is no more. Now, riders have 2 options. You can prepay $18 for 2 hours of riding, with additional minutes costing you 25 cents, or you can pay as you go with $1 to unlock a bike and then 25 cents per additional minute. Riders no longer will have to dock the bike every half hour. The thought is that the first option is good for longer rides and sightseeing, where the latter option works for short rides and one-way trips. MoGo now operates a total of 75 stations and 620 bikes between Detroit, Ferndale, Oak Park, Berkeley, Royal Oak, and Huntington Woods. I'd also give everybody here a pro tip. If you're going to use MoGo more than a couple of days a month, just get the monthly pass. It's far cheaper that way.
Meanwhile, another bike share system in the region says it plans to shut down. Bike share operator Zagster says it's shutting down operations in Dearborn because of the business impacts from the coronavirus outbreak. Dearborn, in fact, is one of many cities across the country where Zagster says it's ceasing operations. Dearborn launched its system in 2017 in partnership with Beaumont Health for use in the city's 2 downtown districts. It later expanded to the University of Michigan Dearborn campus. All stations are expected to be removed by June 12th. In an email newsletter, the Dearborn Downtown Development Authority said it remains committed to the biking needs of the community. They say they'll be evaluating their options going forward. Jer, I know a successful bike share operator that might be able to help them out if they're interested.
Yeah, I think about this, and I wonder if bike share, and I wonder if there's a bunch of these things that actually make sense as nonprofits instead of for-profit operations. I think there was this huge push in Silicon Valley and among venture capitalists to do these things that are kind of, out there and crazy. Like I remember a juicer that got like $120 million in venture-backed funding. It's a $400 juicer. And what it was basically is it basically squeezed juice out of a pre-made bag. And it turned out that your hands could squeeze the juice out just as good as the $400 machine. And I wonder if this is the kind of thing where it makes more sense, like bike shares and stuff like that, to be nonprofits or quasi-governmentals instead of, say, a for-profit enterprise. We have an update for you on the closure of the Detroit Institute of Music Education. The school has come out with an official release that outlines some of the issues that closed the brick-and-mortar school here in Detroit, as well as their location in Denver. To help understand this story, you need to know that many schools do not award accredited degrees themselves. They can't, as it's an in-depth process. What they commonly do is work with partners to make that happen. So in a statement, Dime says that the Metropolitan State University in Denver pulled out of their partnership agreement without warning to be able to award diplomas. Dime says that they withheld sending a statement to honor and show respect for the blackout of the music business that was held Tuesday and to show, quote, maximum respect to the current fight for equality, unquote. Dime says it hopes to reinvent itself, their words, not ours, to offer music education in the future. Two associated businesses, Dime Online and 1265 Original Recordings, will continue.
More than 4,600 radio-controlled helicopter drones imported from China were seized at the Detroit-Windsor border this week. U.S. Customs and Border Protection is holding them at their Fort Street cargo facility because they didn't meet Federal Communications Commission labeling guidelines and underreported their value by $62,000. That means they didn't pay the required duties on the goods either. In late May, CBP says they seized $400,000 in counterfeit merchandise from China. This may be part of an overall tightening of the border as trade conflicts and tensions with China increase. Detroit is one of the busiest border crossings in the nation, with more goods going over the border here than all the trade between the United States and the United Kingdom.
The first Chipotle in Detroit could come, but not to downtown or midtown, but Mack Avenue and Radnor near the Grosse Pointe border. Cranes first reports that Bloomfield Hills-based developer Veris has applied for rezoning. The plan would demolish the old Mount Olive Lutheran Church and put the Chipotle next to a Starbucks and a storage facility. The Chipotle would also reportedly serve booze. Now, being from the east side, it's interesting to see the rise of chains along Mack. Grosse Pointe communities are generally hostile to drive-through only or drive-through focused establishments, as they're suburban-style developments that don't encourage walkability. There have been times during the pandemic that Starbucks over there is the closest one that's open to me here in the North End. So I drive over there and see things. And I'll tell you, there's just so much happening over there in the East English Village neighborhood and some of the other great ones over there. I mean, it's just interesting to see this suburban style development like right along the Detroit border.
The long wait for the highly anticipated unveiling of the new Ford Bronco is about to come to an end. Ford on Thursday said it will at long last debut the resuscitated nameplate in July, and that's about as specific as they got. There's also no word about how Ford will pull this off, but the smart money is on an online live stream. The Bronco, of course, is an iconic nameplate for Ford. The two-door off-roader was one of the original sport utility vehicles when it launched way back in 1966, but it's been out of production since 1996. Ford is expected to offer the 2021 Bronco in 2- and 4-door versions. A smaller Bronco Sport is also planned. The Freep, meanwhile, reports Ford plans to premiere its redesigned 2021 F-150 pickup truck on June 25th via YouTube and other online accounts.
Sven, you cover autos. Are you excited about the Bronco? Is that something that people are following?
Oh, I mean, well, yeah, people love it. I mean, this is going to be like a sort of a direct competitor to the Jeep Wrangler, which is a wildly popular off-road capable car. I think people are really excited by the prospects of bringing back like a two-door, high-riding SUV that you can take off-road. So yeah, I'll be curious to see it. I mean, it's not a car that I would consider buying, but I think it'd be kind of cool to check it out and take a ride in one.
All right, we'll take a minute here to thank our members on Patreon who help make this show possible. It's their support that keeps independent media independent and powers Daily Detroit. You can join those fine folks at patreon.com/Daily Detroit, and thank you.
The Detroit Zoo says it's preparing to reopen to members only and only by reservation starting Monday, June 8th. If you're a member, you can start booking a reservation to visit today, June 5th. The zoo says it's doing this to enforce capacity limits and ensure touchless transactions. You can only make reservations for people currently listed on your membership. Plans call for allowing up to 1,000 visitors per day and no more than 500 at a time. The zoo says it will email all reservation holders with digital tickets and a map, plus details on its safety protocols, which include wearing a face mask, maintaining social distancing, and other measures. Masks will be available for sale outside the property. The zoo says this is for the safety not only of guests, but the animals as well. Jer, they've apparently encountered some pushback from people about having to wear masks in the first place. After the first phase, the zoo says it will reopen for general admission with capacity increased to 2,000 people per day. The zoo also says it's extending the length of memberships to all current members by an additional 3 months. Jer, I would just add that they sent this announcement to zoo members in an adorable email that had a picture at the top of it of 4 groundhogs frolicking in the soil and digging holes. It was really adorable.
State parks, recreation areas, and other managed lands have remained open to the public for recreation during the past 3 months of quarantine, but you haven't been able to camp in them. That's about to change. The Michigan Department of Natural Resources said it plans to allow camping at state forest rustic campgrounds and DNR-managed harbors starting June 10th. Camping in state parks and recreation areas reopens June 22nd. That includes overnight lodging facilities, day-use shelters, and sanitation stations. Dispersed camping on state-managed lands resumed last month. The DNR says some park amenities like bathroom buildings, disc golf courses, and hand-washing stations are reopening in phases. The DNR has a COVID-19 response page where it will post updates. We'll put a link in the show notes.
All right, that will do it for today's show. It is Friday, so as is customary, our thanks are due to Cheyenne Nocerini for all her hard work editing our shows and making them sound so nice. Randy Walker for his technical support and knowledge. And, of course, thank you for listening. I'm Sven Gustafson.
And I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other. We'll get through this together. Talk with you on Monday.